Hey guys, this is Eric Weingartner with Weingartner Racing. Guys, thank you so much for watching my videos. I have had a tremendous amount of fan support this year, and I do appreciate it. And I want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all of that. And thank you for even watching this video over the holiday weekend. But in this video, it's, Saturday's updates, but there's so many updates. So I know some of you just turn it off because you got other stuff to do, you're busy, whatnot. But there's a lot of different things in this video, so please pay attention. Plus, I'm giving you a chance to win a t-shirt. Would you like a t-shirt? People let you win cars. Yeah, I don't have that kind of cash. But there's so much in this video that's interesting, I think, for a lot of you. So some of it may sound new and some might not be. First off is this. I sell books, from Dyno sessions. Well, the one that's been on pre-order, and it's still on pre-order, is about to end. And I'm going to show you some of the graphs in it because I finally got those printed. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to my website, wengines.com, and on my homepage, you'll see a link to click on to go into my online store where you can pre-order the final book of 2023. In this book, we have 2 dyno sessions in one. So you've got the final small block Chevy dyno session, which if you've been watching the other videos from last Sunday or Mondays for the last few weeks, that's in there. And also the final session from the 496, the second one, where it had the ported 290 heads from ProMax and also 317 heads have been milled down. And I'm about to show you some of those comparison graphs real quick just because you watched this video, and a Merry Christmas. But all of this stuff is going to be in that. Here's the other thing, if you buy that book, so the final book from 2023, there's a holiday special that goes with it. You buy it, you become a channel member. Like, what is a channel member? What a channel member gets is they will get live text updates as I'm dynoing the engine. So instead of waiting for a video to come out to see all this stuff, you will actually be able to see the actual numbers that it's happening. Plus, when there's cool things that happen in the shop, like different cylinder heads and stuff, sometimes those videos don't get put out for a while, and some never get put out just because I don't think it's got enough content to make it. But the channel members get to see it. You also, if you pay for an extra add-on, you can ask questions, and then you can schedule a time for me, and I'll talk with you for up to 15 minutes of time, or actually up to 30 minutes of time. And anyway, so that's an extra add-on. But if you buy the book, you become a channel member anyway. Plus, you get more preferences. So I save your number, so I typically answer your phone calls before I will others, which we'll talk about phone calls later in this video. But anyway, let's just show you some of the graphs just for fun. So this one, in case you're wondering, this is the 317 heads. This was the Brodix BM 2000 intake with the Dominator on it versus the 4150 carb. I'm not going to go through these in too much depth. That's not what this video is about. I'm just showing you some of the stuff because you decided to watch. You can pause it and see. These will all be in the book because these are from the books. This is the ProMax 317s. This is the BM 2000 intake versus the Edelbrock 454R. So yeah, that BM 2000 intake is better. This was the Brodix 317 head still, but this was that special turtle intake, which you go back and watch the video on that, versus the BM 2000. You could tell it's so much better until this point here compared to the BM 2000. This is the ProMax 290 head using the Edelbrock air gap intake and then the AFR intake. See what I mean? The Edelbrock is actually way better at the lower RPMs, and it's not until there at the peaks where it looks like it's the same. Otherwise, they're not. Then there's this one. Now we have the ProMax 290 ported versus the 317 ported, and I believe this one's with the 4150 carburetor. This is that same test, but using a Dominator. And then this was just the 290s, looks like, no, 317s milled versus 317 stock. Yeah, it was a huge gain. And I think this is the final one. Yep, this is the 290 stock versus the 290 ported. Yep, and that's all for that. Anyway, all of these will be in that book that's available. So I highly recommend you go buy the book. I'm going to have these better organized, obviously, so you can do that. But that will be in the book, and that's a really cool thing. But that's not the only thing that's happened. Let me tell you something else that's happened. On Thursday, I went to Dunsworth Machine Shop and dropped off the new engines for the dyno mule stuff testing. Because for those who are new to the channel, I'm dynoing a lot of stuff. Not just small block Chevy, although you've probably seen it, and big block Chevy. There's others too. So for one, The 540, I think I have all the pieces right now for that. So I dropped it off at Dunsworth to have it built. For those that don't know, it's a 540. I really am not 100% certain on the compression ratio because I have the Molly pistons and they were a 38cc dome. However, I know I had them milled down because I use those for the Engine Master competition, but I cannot find my notes to tell me how much I had them milled off. I think they're 33cc domes now. And with these ProMax heads they're going to start off with and on there now, they're 110cc chambers. I think that yields like 12.5 to 1 compression. In case you're wondering, the one thing I don't have for it that I wish I did is because what I'm trying to do on the 540 is do primarily dyno testing on E85. Because on the small block Chevy and the 496 that we've been doing before, all that testing was done on pump gas. I really would like to try dynoing on it more on E85 to see if there's some different correlations. And yes, I have gone back to back on fuels before, but I want to see if there's some specific thing that helps E85 versus pump gas anyway. However, I'm sure I'll still be going back and forth on race gas as well, or not race gas, but pump gas as well. You're like 12.5 to 1 on pump gas? Yeah, I'm going to make it work. The other thing that got dropped off was a 477 big block Chevy engine of mine that I'm putting the 1071 Roots supercharger on that's going into the Camaro. Almost all the pieces were there for that, and if you watch previous videos, you could see it. Matter of fact, you watch Wednesday's video, you saw the cylinder heads that are going to be used for it. The only thing that hadn't come, well, there's a couple things that hadn't come in yet, one being the rockers. I'm hoping the guy who's making the rockers is watching this. I really do need those, and I'm really appreciative when they come in because that's going to be a huge deal. So the only thing really that's left on that 477 blower engine is I need the rockers. I've ordered the valve covers. They just haven't come in yet. And then there's this. And I want to show you this because this is cool to me. Some of you might be aware of it, some may not. So yes, it's a balancer, but it's not a normal harmonic balancer. Because if you look at it, it's from ATI, obviously. We look at this balancer, it doesn't look like that big of a deal, right? Well, as you may know, I'm running a Roots supercharger on it, and usually I'm running a crank trigger. Usually whenever you put a crank trigger on, that crank trigger sits here. Well, it makes the whole pulley system stick out further because that crank trigger is, eighth inch, quarter inch thick, I think. So it moves all the front parts or this front drive forward. So you can add a spacer to the front of your pulley and stuff on your blower and make up for that. Or, which I think this is the better way to do it, because the further out you go, I think it makes it's harder on the blower. Or you can do this. And this is what is neat about this balancer. It's not just normal thing. This one has the crank trigger built in. You see that right there? That's a magnet. So this outer shell contains 4 magnets, and they've marked them here for me just to see where the locations are. There, and there, just like a regular MSD crank trigger wheel would have. So it works the same way. So the crank trigger is built in. You might say, well, what are you going to do about how do you get the crank trigger itself to be over this? Because usually it's sitting over here. MSD has washers that makes it move out this way. You just take off the washers and now you're centered on that. So this is neat because it's all built in. I don't have to worry about spacing and stuff, and that's there. And it's a great balancer. It's got, as you can tell, it's got your regular keyway, and then it's got a 1/4 inch second one added because my crank also has the second one added because of the blower, less twist on that. So there's that. And anyway, that's a pretty cool deal. But let me go back to the 540 because I forgot to talk about and show you something else. This is the camshaft card for the 540 Dyno Mule. This specs I picked, it is almost the same that's in my 565 that's in the Camaro. It has the same intake duration, same exhaust duration. It has the same lobe separation. The only thing that's different is the lift and the lobe family. So the Camaro's obviously has more lifts, and I didn't do it on the Dyno Mule just because I didn't want to spend all that money on a very expensive spring. And also, that's probably the biggest one. Also, I didn't have, that's the other thing. I don't have shaft rockers on the Dyno Mule, so I can't do 1:8:5 ratio. So it is what it is. Now, the lobe family is different. I used a low shock lobe for this one than the Dyno Mule just because I'm just trying to take it easier on the lifters. The lifters are BAM and they have needle bearings, but they're also 842s. And not that I think anything will go wrong with them, but I don't want to make their life harder, especially since I'm going to be beating the crap out of this. But anyway, this is the cam shaft that's going to be used for it. So nothing wrong with Ursins, by the way. I use Ursins in the small block Chevy, and eventually the 540 may even have an Ursin one just to change, see what would happen. This camshaft in the 565, it's made peak power at 7,400 RPM. Granted, that head's 385 cc's and flows 485, and the head that's going on the 540 is going to be the Pro Max 317s that are only milled to 110 cc's, so that gives me about a 12.5 to 1 compression ratio, and they only flow with 385, so I don't think it's going to make the same peak power because of the cylinder head. However, this is where you guys come into play. Whoever guesses the correct peak horsepower or peak torque will win a t-shirt from me. So I'm giving out 2 t-shirts, one for the peak horsepower, one for peak torque. Whoever does that, that's right, you get a free t-shirt. And if 2 people say the same thing, only the first one gets the shirt. So anyway, take your guesses and let me know what you think. This is the next thing I wanted to show you. Excuse me. This has been a long time coming project. So what this is my Brodix Dragon Slayer head. But I've finally had one digitized, and then they're CNC porting them now. Well, some of them. And I'll explain a little bit better. But this all really came about because of the whole Dyno mill thing. I want to see how much power each iteration can make and whatnot. So the one way to do it, obviously, would be to hand port and try different ideas. In my mind, it would save me time because I can't be hand porting my stuff, because if I'm hand porting my stuff, I'm not hand porting customer stuff, so I'm not making money, I'm just losing money. So in my mind, what I did is I ported one and has had it sent out, and this way we can change things, and I could send another casting and it being cut that way instead of me wasting a week or more to port another set of heads just to try different things on the dyno. So really this all came about not so much to save me time in the shop, because I don't end up making much whenever I sell these. So I am going to have these for sale, especially a pre-order on my website or my online store. But these they don't make money. I mean, here's what I mean. By the time I send these off to have them CNC ported and the shipping back and forth, when I get them, they look like this, sort of. Let me show you. And this is what I mean by shadows if you watch my other videos. You see that where it's patched like that? That's where the CNC machine didn't get. It just didn't cut it. And has nothing to do with how I ported it, and has nothing to do with the way the CNC machine worked. It has everything to do with the way heads are cast. So core shift, especially on Dragon Slayers, I could tell you which ones have the worst core shift, which ports. They are not the same. It's really, I love the head, but there's core shift in the head for sure. So for instance, let me see which one. Yeah, this one. This one always has the core shifted that way. So if you're ever going to have a bubble that breaks through on the head bolt hole, it's going to be on that side. That's why it's shadowed there. But it's going to have to remove a ton of material from this side. The exhaust port on this end right here is always pushed over that way. Anyway, because all that stuff's that way, you get shadows. But anyway, even when I get the head, back to the point, I still have to do the valve job, which I've done. So actually, I have to put the guide back through, size the guide, do the valve job, and then blend all that out, because I'm not going to send it out the door like that. Do I think it has anything to do with flow numbers? No, because I measured. I actually flowed it before and after. It doesn't do nothing besides making it look fancier when you hit that with a cartridge roll. It has no effect on flow. I can say that for sure because I tested it. However, once that's done, so get the head back and all the stuff and everything, once I bill the customer and stuff, I make as much as if someone just sent me a head to do a valve job on, which is $300. So compared to what I make on a regular set of heads, hand porting them, yes, it takes all week, but I make more money. So, but the whole reason for the point to the thing is this. It was to do R&D. So much easier to make changes this way. So for instance, on this head, let me see if this is locked down, and it's not. This one, and by the way, I have never spent so much time on a model to make it perfect as this one. It's literally the finest work I have ever done, and I don't even know if I could ever do it again. And you're like, no, you're just saying that. I'm being serious. I took a lot of effort to come up with these ports. They are amazing, and I'm sure in 5 years I'll probably like, I'm so much better now, or something else I've learned that makes it better. But this is the best work I have ever done. And on this one, so let me describe the head. Initially, the idea, and the whole reason for it is to go on the mule, was I want a standard port head. So the valves are not moved. These are standard port location. So don't have to worry about that. I also want it where you could run a stud mount rocker. So I want an excellent flowing head that uses standard valve spacing, stud mount rockers, so you don't have to have shaft rockers, because shaft rockers have gotten stupid expensive. They went from being $1,500 to $2,000, which is almost the cost of the head. This is getting dumb. So to do that, what you have is you have here. So in the end, this is a 1207 tall, still about 1206 wide. It ends up with a cross-sectional area at the pinch of 2.69, which is pretty good. It's not bad. And that's not pushing these walls, because that's the other thing that sucks about, I love Brodix, but some of their machine work I don't get. For instance, on port 1, this would be cylinder 1, the push rod slots actually moved over that way more. So they actually have machined this. It's not centered to this. So you would think, this being the center, that this location and this location would be the equal distances from the center. You were incorrect. This one's moved over way this way, and this one's moved over that way. So in other words, it's like shifted. Like this is not centered with where the port should be. So it gets tricky, because this one will try breaking through, while this one has plenty of material, like 40 thousandths, and this one has no thousands. So it became a bit of a trick. And this is the first one to come off the CNC machine, so there will be some changes made for the next ones. And the guy is working with me, and he's really trying to get this thing as good as it can be. The idea is I'd have to do less work whenever I get it. Although I do not want him enlarging the program to make that clean up. That doesn't help me. It actually will make the port flow less, and I don't want it thinner in some areas. So some of that stuff's that. And you're like, what about there? I actually intentionally had him, well, he did it. He left the port throat small so I could size them, which I'm okay with, because some people don't want to run a 2-125 valve. I could put a 210 in, although the percents, the bowl to the throat's really weird. Anyway, it does have a wing in it, okay? So it's a nice port. It's got a wing in it. And like I said, this is the best work I have ever done, is this head. Ever, for the prototype. Anyway, for this, it's fantastic. This one, though, is a little different. The push rod slots are actually moved over from the factory. I had them move them over, because this one requires shaft rocker. So why do I say that? Because there'll be two versions. One that can run a stud mount rocker, which is the one I'm going to try on the Dyno mule. And the second one, which will have the push rod slot moved over, so you can have even more area. So the current one's like 2.80 at the pinch. So that one that's on the over there, I had to grind it just because he forgot to put that in the program, but not a big deal. But it'll be 2.80, and I can go all the way up to 2.9, I want to say, at the pinch, with a 550 offset on the rocker. On the stud mount, no. You're 2.69, that's it. You're done. I mean, it could do a 1209 entry, but not a lot of intake manifolds work with it. Several work with a 1207. So, anyway, it's good. It's a bad head. It truly is, and I'm not going to say it's the baddest head out there, because everybody says that crap, and that just sells technique. It's a very good head. What I'm going to find out on the Dyno is, will it beat the other stuff? Because that 235 that I have from ProMax that I did for them, that's a really good head. This one is much, much better. So just to give you an idea, it's 253 cc's. That's right, stud mount rocker, 253 cc's. It's big. Sucker's big. Moves a lot of air, and I'll show you that in a second. But yeah, it's big. It's pretty amazing. It does great stuff, right? On the Dyno, I want to test this, because that wing that's in there, I'm going to have it done two ways. One with it in and one with it out. We'll see how much power it actually makes for a difference. Yeah, I'm going to try that. I'm going to buy two separate heads. The goal with this whole program is, I'm going to try to have one of these heads, pairs of heads, in stock at all times, where all I have to do is valve job and put them together. So for someone, because I turn down more customers than I get, promise. So this way, if a customer says, hey, I've got a set, you got a set? I can get them ready in probably a week. Then I'll have those there. That's the goal, is to have one set always here machined. Although I would still make more money if I just had a person wait forever and just hand ported a set. Way more money, but it's just more out of convenience. The head is amazing. Right? It truly is. And I can't wait to try it on the 406 Dyno mule, because I think this is going to be the ticket. Although the camshaft's really limiting it anyway, but I'm curious to see how much bigger this head will make for power on that. Disadvantages for this head, this is a 70cc chamber. And you're like, why so big? Well, it just kind of had to be. And still could be milled down, so this one's going to get milled to 68. I don't think I can. I'm sure if I tried, I could get it to 64. I'm looking through how much material's here, but I'm probably not. So the difference between a 64 and 68 is not that big of a difference. 70 to 64 seems like a bigger one. I probably can get this down to 66 really if I tried, but they're a 70cc chamber. Now I am working on something else because this is a way different project. Let me show you this. This is a master for another one. See that chamber? This is a 40-60 spacing head, so the same thing I'm doing for that. This one's actually getting done for a different customer, and he's actually gonna have this program. But this chamber itself, I completely started from scratch. The idea is to make this chamber small anyway, so when it comes off the machine, it should be like 67, so 3cc smaller, so I can easily get it to where it needs to be. I haven't CC'd this yet to see what it is. I hope it's smaller, and I hope it moves more, but it's a 40-60 spacing, so it should end up better than the other one, and still use a stud mount rocker, which will be amazing. That one will probably end up eventually beating this, but that's why I'm going to test it on the dyno too. See, I know a lot of companies claim they do R&D, but really what they do is they send a bunch out to customers. They're never on the same engine. And they're like, look, this customer made X amount of power. Well, he always makes great power because he's a great engine builder. Or they send it to another engine builder that doesn't have, they don't do back-to-backs. They don't go, well, I've used this head, and then they switch to this head, and yours made more power. That's usually their R&D is simply sending out to different engine shops, and then using like, oh, that head's good. But you're like, okay, was it better than other stuff? No, I mean, there's other heads that beat it, but yours is really good. I'm spending an insane amount of money, stupid amount of money, to test on my own dyno mule to see if it actually is better in all aspects on the same engine. So I'm not saying that other companies don't do that, but I sure never hear about them doing that. Usually it's like, we've sent it to engine builders, and this engine builder really liked it, and this said it was really good. But then if you ask the engine builder, like, is there other stuff that you use that's better? Yes. See what I mean? Anyway, long way to say, but let me show you the flow numbers. There you go. This is from the signs bench. It isn't even a super flow. I try to keep it more conservative, but you look at 400, 258, 500 is amazing, 298, 323 at 600, and by the way, it hits 331 at 700. Now you notice it kind of dips off a little bit there. That's something in the chamber, and part of the reason is, one, I could take more material out of the chamber, but it ends up making the chamber larger. It also makes less material around the spark plug, so it would gain more. It would get this back because where that valve is in the wrong, that part of this chamber where it's right around the spark plug. But I would be gaining CFM only to reduce compression ratio, and all the dyno testing so far has shown that's a loss. After it gets out of that, that's why it climbs back up. This is not so much the port stability. Matter of fact, I floated at 40 inches, at 50 inches. The thing is amazing. It actually flows more air at the higher pressures, even though it's correcting back to 28. The thing is really good. Exhaust flow 250. I mean, it's good. And that's with the 1575 exhaust valve. So it's a smaller than you have to on the standard valve spacing. So I'm going to put this on my website probably in the next few days. But not on the website, but on my online store so people can pre-order. I'm going to say it's going to be 6 months out. So you're like, oh, 6 months. Yeah, I'm hoping to have more in stock, like have one ready all the time. But someone that will pre-order is, like I say, 6 months and should have it to it by then. So it does take some special stuff. The exhaust valve is a custom exhaust valve because no one makes a 1575 exhaust valve. You have to have that machined. It's 125 intake valve, ain't no big deal. But anyway, it's not gonna be cheap either because I'm trying to make more than 300 on a head. I'm gonna be honest with you. In no sense of lying. I'm gonna try to make more than $300 on a set of heads. So I gotta pay for this testing and whatnot. But anyway, there's that. And this is the last thing I want to share with you. This is the last thing I wanted to share with you guys. And it's more of a tip for customers. I don't even know the people that actually call me and make it to this far in a video. I'd be shocked. But I need to talk about some things. And It doesn't get said on videos because people just take it the wrong way, but I need to say it. And it has to do with phone calls. So on Monday, so this was Monday, just one day, usually Mondays are a bit of an exception, but in general, I work between 9 and 5. At least that's what I say. Typically, I'm out here at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I will leave about 7 o'clock at night. So probably an hour of it's just on the computer dealing with emails. However, on Monday alone, I had 27 calls. So when I'm trying to grind, and I've got my mask on, because I ain't trying to breathe that. I got my earmuffs on, because I ain't trying to hear the grinder. But I do have my earbuds in underneath those. 27 calls. It's damn near impossible to get much work done when you have to keep stopping. So, and I don't have a problem with people calling so much. I really don't. It sounds like I do, but it's very hard to get stuff done. But it's the way some of you call that gets you in trouble. So I'm trying to give you some tips here. First off, if you ask me to do some project, and this goes for any business, it doesn't have to be me. You might say I'm a dick, and I would agree, big one. But if you call and ask for someone to do a project, and they say or something for you, and you say I'm not interested in doing that, don't try to talk them into it, because if they've already said no, they're not going to say yes again. So because I say that because in at least 2 of those calls on Monday, there was someone trying to talk me into doing something I didn't want to do, and I told them I'm not that guy. I don't want to mess with that. But it's usually like repairs and stuff. Like, it looks like it'd be easy. Well, it might be easy, but I don't have time to do it. That's a big no-no. The other thing is, if you ask me for a great head, give me a good cylinder head, the best you can come up with, and I tell you the head, and then you hear the price, don't go, whoa, that's too much for me. You can just keep it inside. I just spent time with you while I could be working on stuff that people have already paid the whoa price for. Okay? And I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I mean, it kind of sounds that way, but just don't say that. Just don't say that out loud. And also don't go, I understand the need for technical questions to be answered. There's a huge, probably a place for that. And that's why I have channel membership where people can pay and they can ask questions. But if you just call me to ask about questions with things you've bought from Jegs or Summit, it raises my blood pressure to a bazillion, because it makes me angry, because I'm knowing you could have bought it from me, because I usually start, I would have bought it from you, but Jegs had it on sale and I got to save $1. I get that too. But don't come to me to ask questions. Go to them to save your buck. It's just not fair. And it happens quite a bit. So don't do that. That's the other thing I'd say. And the other thing is, don't be the pauser. And you're like, what are you talking about? If you have a business, you'll understand this completely. You'll have a person, I'm going to do a mock conversation. Hey guys, hey Eric, love your channel. Thank you, man. I appreciate you watching the channel. Do you port small block Chevy heads? In my mind, I'm thinking, you watch the channel. Yeah, yep, sure do. Only aluminum though. And I have only aluminum ones. Well, I got this set on that's on my small block. It's like their computer's rebooting every time I answer. Okay, don't be that person. And I'm not expecting you to be like Johnny Snap on the spot, quick ones. But don't do the pause. Because sometimes I really think, I'm about to hang up on this person. I swear to God. And every time in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to do it. This is the time. Because now I've wasted 30 seconds with you just pausing. And sometimes I'll even say, was there anything else you need help with? Yeah, if I got this engine that's just smoking, you know anything on how to get it to stop smoking? I'm trying to do cylinder heads. You're asking me about something else. Just put that in an email. When I get time, I'll put it. Not to mention, by the way, Monday, 27 phone calls. There were like around 44 emails. And someone complains, well, how come you didn't answer my email? Like that same day. So it was, that one's like, I hit my critical mass at that point. I was like, look, buddy, just because you sent an email in at 9:03 doesn't mean I'm going to respond by 1:03. So I'm just giving you tips that you have to understand. There are like I know you're so used to working with big companies where you get your stuff from Summit, so they got a huge order line and tech people to answer the phone calls that you ignore anyway. It's just me. Keith and the others used to come on Fridays, but they're just assembling heads. So, true, I could give them the phone to answer, but guess what? They'd still say, you need to talk to Eric. So I'd still end up answering the phone. So I know you're used to that, but stop doing that. If there's a question, really, it's best to put an email. And I know some of you are like, that's not a way to treat a customer. The thing is, those are customers. The customers I'm working on are right there. That'd be like if you're getting your hair cut, you're paying someone and your barber's cutting your hair. And at the same time, someone else comes in and asks them 1,000 questions. Are they a customer or just someone asking questions? Because the guy that's a customer is the one to getting your hair cut. That's what you're doing. By the way, I took my son to the barber shop. He had a great time. Sorry, air compressor. But yeah, I took my son to the barber shop. That was awesome too. Anyway, as far as this, I know some of you are like curious about swimming stuff, and I'll leave it alone about the phone calls. The point is, I hit my frustration level. Like, there was so much that needed to be done, and I felt bad because this one guy said I'd probably have this stuff done in my Christmas. Christmas is in 3 days. Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. And not for lack of trying. I mean, I don't know how many more hours in the day I can give. So I try to swim just because I want to get better, and I know, like, you're stupid. You keep doing that, you're gonna mess up your heart again. Yep. Because you know what I think about when I'm swimming? Only trying to swim. I don't have to think about the cylinder head stuff. This stuff just haunts me. Like that CNC head. It's been bugging me forever. Trying to get this thing perfect. I want it perfect. I don't want it good. I want it perfect. So the only thing that stops me from thinking about this stuff, swimming, because the only thing I'm thinking about is trying to swim. Anyway, I don't know how many more hours of the day I could spend doing this. So I also want to bring up this point. I'm not grinding. For the next 3 days, I'm not grinding. I need to do maintenance in the shop. There's so much stuff that needs to be done that's been put off for too long. So for those who like wondering, I'm just going to work in the shop on stuff that, like, maintenance-wise, that should have been done a while ago. This thing needs to be organized. I can't find nothing. It's driving me nuts. But yes, feel bad because I didn't get certain jobs done. There's not enough hours in the day. But anyway, my son, didn't have any swim meets, so in case you're wondering about that, he's off till January. However, he had, again, bad luck. The Tulsa Union pool pump broke again. Now, remember, it was broke down for 3 weeks. And I was watching this Michael Phelps thing, and he said every time you're one day missing from swimming, it takes 2 days to make up for it. Well, then the pump, so he's been swimming hard for like a week and a half, and I mean really hard, great practices. Then the pump broke again. I'm like, dang it. So they got to fix it again. So now that they're out of the pool still, so hopefully I'll have it fixed by Tuesday or whatever. I doubt it because the whole Christmas thing. I'm like, because this is supposed to be like his hell week, is the holiday ones for swimmers. It is. Because in January they start their really competitive ones and regionals and big events. But anyway, that sucks. This is the last thing I'm going to leave you with. And I promise you this is the last one. I asked my wife for one thing this Christmas, and she thought I was making it up. I said, I want to go to a concert. Now, I know you're thinking concert, like Metallica or something, or Taylor Swift maybe. But by the way, I'm very eclectic. When I was powerlifting, you'll never believe, but this is the songs I would listen to with Selena Gomez. Swear to God, deadlifting. Picking up 500 or 600 pounds, deadlifting. Selena Gomez. Yeah, I know, it's strange. But anyway, I don't go to those concerts. You know why I don't go to those concerts? Because they're not concerts. They're gigantic karaoke's. Everybody's just singing along. So, and Carrie gets so mad at me. That's my wife's name, by the way. Like, we should go to a concert. Because she goes to a concert with her mom. Like, I have no desire to go to those concerts. We went to Tenacious D once. Which, Jack Black. Whoa, that guy. Loved Tenacious D. But anyway, he put it on here in Tulsa. His set, by the way, was amazing. It started off as a penis. And then at the end of the show, it folds down to vagina. But it was cool. But I was like, oh, great, right to hear him. It's too bad I got to hear a bunch of people high and drunk singing Tenacious D songs. I didn't get to hear Tenacious D. And even though the music was really loud. So I don't go to those concerts because it's not a concert. It's a karaoke sing-along. And I don't want to pay to sing along. Especially since I don't sing anyway, because I know, I respect everyone else's ears to not have me sing. I mean, you're bad enough to make it through this video anyway. So I said, I want to go to a concert. And she's like, whoa, okay. No. This candlelight concert where it's just instruments. So it was a quartet. So it was like a violin, viola, what, I don't know, 4 things with a bow and strings. And they play music and there's these candles all around them. And I was like, oh, this would be a cool pyro show. They're all fake candles. But I'm going to end the video with the 5 seconds that I recorded of it. I loved it. You know why I love those concerts? Because no one gets up in the middle of those with their own violin and decides to play along. You know? But it was, I love those. Love them. Anyway, that's how I'm going to end. So, guys, remember, have a Merry Christmas. I can't believe you made it through this whole video. Way to go, diehards. You must have a very boring time right now. Or you're trying to avoid the rest of your family. Anyway, have a Merry Christmas. Take care. I don't pour cast iron heads. Check this out.